Chapter 2: Imagination, Ideas in Action. A man's mind, once stretched by a new idea, never regains its original dimensions. Oliver Wendell Holmes. To know is nothing at all. To imagine is everything. Anatole France. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Genesis 1:27. I have a dream. I have a dream today that the brotherhood of man will become a reality in this day. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. Many people think of Martin Luther King as a voice crying in the wilderness, a single man struggling against the attitudes of a nation. And it is true that as a black man, he was in the minority. Black America did not hold the reins of power and had every reason to distrust those who did. Yet, when Dr. King preached those historic words, he spoke of the vision he had for his country. A vision that would inspire and spearhead victories against inequality and social injustice. By combining spiritual values and a deeply rooted belief in himself and the goodness of man, Dr. King infiltrated the consciousness of a nation and shook it to its roots, forging a racial bond. By sharing his dream, he gave democracy a new meaning and humanity a new life force. There is an oft-repeated phrase with which you must become familiar. It is, I can dream, can't I? But this statement bears the tone of futility, as though the person asking it has little faith in that his dreams will come true. Actually, anyone who dares to dream and believe in his dreams is the creator, to a large extent, of his future. Though Dr. King's reality was a society of oppression and discrimination, his vision, ever so clear, was a world of love and mutual respect. It is debatable as to whether Dr. King was aware of life's simple dynamic. Man can create anything that he can imagine. In his many lectures, Napoleon Hill stated, "The imagination is the workshop of the soul, wherein are shaped all plans for individual achievement. Man's greatest gift is his mind. It analyzes, compares, chooses. It creates, visualizes, foresees, and generates ideas. Imagination is your mind's exercise. It challenges and is the mirror of your soul." Further, Hill said, with the aid of his imagination, man has penetrated the stars, conquered the seas below and the air above, and created a simpler and easier quality of life by combining ideas and action. The imagination is the great workshop where the potentialities are practically unlimited. If you have studied and fully digested the preceding lesson, you know that the materials out of which you transform your thoughts are assembled and combined in your imagination. In the previous chapter, you were brought to the realization that life is collectivized thought. Now, by closely examining the powers of creative thought, you will come to know that imagination is one of the most useful tools ever endowed to you by the Creator. Ideas are the starting points of all success. It takes only one idea, followed by action, to create a fortune. By examining the following illustrations, you should develop a clearer understanding of what this process entails. The mighty power of imagination. Madam C.J. Walker engraved her name on the tablets of time by cultivating her imagination. At a time when the average black believed he was either too young or too old or ill-prepared to move beyond self-imposed limits, Madam Walker dreamed big dreams. Born in 1867 on a Louisiana farm in the vice of poverty, she was orphaned at 7. Sarah Breedlove, as she was then called, barely eked out an existence. Many days where there simply wasn't enough to eat. In search of broader opportunities, she left her family's farm for life in the Mississippi Delta. Sarah settled into her new surroundings, working wherever she could. As a domestic and washerwoman, she trudged countless miles through towns and back roads, lugging her laundry basket where she dreamed of better days. But neither lack of money nor influential friends would deter her from a date with destiny. Why? Because what she possessed was far more powerful than either, an unlimited imagination. Like so many who have looked for success and found it, Sarah searched with her mind's eye. She gazed at her world, with its outward appearance of deprivation, hunger, and misery, with fresh eyes, through her imagination, and saw opportunities all about her. Her job as a domestic under a wealthy aristocratic family exposed her to the social graces of the upper class. As Sarah went about her daily chores, she was particularly mindful of the appearance and grooming habits of the well-to-do. She believed that all hair textures and skin tones were naturally beautiful, but she also believed that natural beauty needed enhancement to realize its full potential. She wanted to develop a product that would meet the specific needs of Black Americans. What if someone could create a hair care system that could straighten and soften coarse hair, she thought. Sarah's mind, not filled with a purpose, sensed an opportunity. With a newfound goal and definite purpose, she worked hard and earnestly. Every waking moment outside of her duties as a domestic, she spent concocting hair formulas and methods that would carry out her objective. Pushed by sheer desire, Sarah continued to toil into the early morning hours until an idea finally struck. With an initial investment of less than $2, carefully saved from her meager earnings, she commissioned a metal worker to manufacture a special pressing comb. She later developed a procedure combining her Walker comb and a special hair preparation that would not only straighten coarse hair but give dull, dry-looking hair a soft and natural texture. In 1905, Madam Walker, as she was now known, improved upon her original idea and developed a complete line of hair and beauty aids, which she initially sold door to door, transforming herself from laundress to hair care tycoon. For millions of women, both black and white, her products were the answers to their prayers. Almost overnight, she found herself in business with assistants, agents, school, and eventually a manufacturing company. Before her death in 1919, Madam Walker could count more than 2,000 agents marketing an ever-expanding line of products, ringing up sales that made her America's first black female millionaire. I wish to emphasize the part of the above story that most never mention, that Madam Walker's hair care system became a reality in her imagination first. Her proud manufacturing facility was built with brick and mortar and hard labor, as similar companies were built. These were paid for with the profits earned in much the same manner that profits for all companies are secured. But if you want the real story of Madam Walker's success, you must go back to that little country town where she worked as a domestic and laundress for pennies a day. It was here that she used the true materials to build a grand future, materials that were no more visible than the thoughts that she organized in her imagination. Dream, Jesse Jackson says, dream big dreams. Others may deprive you of your material wealth and cheat you in 1,000 ways, but no man can deprive you of the control and use of your imagination. Men may deal with you unfairly, as men often do. They may deprive you of your liberty, but they cannot take from you the privilege of using your imagination. In your imagination, you always win. His place in America is assured, but Jesse Jackson is not content to go down in the history books as the first black man to run seriously for the presidency and lose. Although his imagination gained for him the opportunity that he wanted, he will dream again. Why? Because how else is a poor black child born to an unwed teenage mother going to rise to greatness? Only through imagination has Jesse Jackson come this far. Do you want happiness? Do you want peace of mind? Do you want position, power, or riches? Then imagine them. How did the Almighty first create man? In his image created he him. He imagined man in his mind. Imagination, Einstein said, is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. Popular folklore has it that Einstein's imagination, not his knowledge of physics and mathematics, led him to the theory of relativity. He understood the theory, the story goes, when he visualized himself riding a beam of starlight through space. When he imagined what would happen as he sat astride the beam of light, he was able to work out the mathematical formulas that proved this theory. What is true for science holds equally true for other areas of our lives. If your imagination is the mirror of your soul, then you have the perfect right to stand before that mirror and see yourself as you wish to be. You have the right to see reflected in that magic mirror the home you intend to own, the business you intend to start, the company of which you intend to be president, the position in life you intend to occupy. Your imagination belongs to you. Use it. Creative dreaming. As individuals, we often engage in creative dreaming without even knowing it. For instance, when a hard-pressed family develops a plan to finance the education of their child, or when a teenager finds a way to salvage that old jalopy, or when an entrepreneur initiates steps to build a business, all are examples of the mind's unceasing ability to creatively dream. Practically speaking, creative imagination is the ability to bring about improvement within our lives. Very few people have learned to use their imagination to its fullest potential. Society teaches us that it is not adult to fantasize. Too many of us have learned society's lessons so well that we never daydream. Our imaginations rust away from lack of exercise. For some illogical reason, science, the arts, and literature have been dubbed as the only domain indicative of creative dreaming. Most associate creativity with an artistic painting, or stirring poetry, or a moving musical composition. While each painting, poem, or symphony is indeed evidence of the creative process, so too are all successes, no matter how great or small. There is no need to shy from the word creativity. Every moment you are creating. Each new word, each new thought, each action changes your life. Regardless how you view creativity or the creative process, you will never be truly happy unless you are engaged in something creative. It is the dull routine, the humdrum, that makes work difficult and life uninteresting. When you are involved in the work of your choosing, there is always the possibility of doing it your own unique way, which means using God's God-given creativity. It is only through creative thoughts that you energize hidden talents, which lie too often dormant within you. Where do ideas come from? Ideas are the most important things on earth, said the master motivator Earl Nightingale. Each of us has his own idea factory. But where do ideas come from? How do we attract great ideas, visions, dreams? Where do writers, scientists, and inventors acquire great ideas? How is it possible for a composer to hear in his mind an entire symphony as if it had already been written, yet it is entirely new to him? Why are some people more creative than others? Each of us, at one time or another, must learn to rely upon the unseen source of all ideas, the universal subconscious mind to which we all have direct access. This universal subconscious mind has been referenced throughout all recorded history. It's been called the God mind by wise men and philosophers alike. Emerson referred to it as the oversoul, and said in an essay that we lie in the lap of an immense intelligence, like a cork floating in a great ocean between the sky and the sea. When we experience this form of superintelligence, we realize that it comes from a source far beyond ourselves. Napoleon Hill labeled this power infinite intelligence. meaning, in essence, unlimited intelligence. When ideas well up from deep within us, Hill wrote, ideas that seemingly come out of nowhere come through infinite intelligence. Riches you will find often depend on this power. A single idea or spark can revolutionize your life. A single idea can lead you to great wealth, fame, or fortune, or it can bury you in despair. Sreli Blotnick, an investment counselor, remarked, the average person stumbles upon at least 4 ideas a year, any of which, if it were acted upon, might render vast wealth. Never before has mankind been so exposed to this phenomenon. What are the characteristics of infinite intelligence? Infinite intelligence is likened to the creative power which directs and governs the universe. This power has commonly been referred to as the universal mind, the great unseen, the divine mind, and by more orthodox religionists as God. In addition, number 1, it is the source of all pure creativity. Innovation is invariably the result of infinite intelligence. Number 2, it is the source of all inspiration. Whenever you feel inspired or uplifted, chances are that infinite intelligence has been activated within you. It is the source of all intuition. The voice of infinite intelligence is the intuitive voice. It is the source of all hunches or gut feelings. Number 3, it functions as a part of our subconscious. Even as you sleep, infinite intelligence remains steadfast, activating new ideas, visions, and dreams. Number 4, it works best with clear, specific goals. The clearer and more specific the goal, the more rapidly infinite intelligence can develop the ideas you require. Number 5, it automatically and continuously solves every problem as you move toward your goal, as long as the goal is defined. This is the reason why people who start life from humble beginnings can arrive at positions of prominence and influence. Number 6, it grows in power as it is used and believed in. Number 7, it gives you the lessons you need in order to be successful. It is through infinite intelligence that you will obtain wisdom and insight. Number 8, it operates best with an attitude of confident expectation. This is the psychic fuel that feeds this principle. Number 9, it brings you the answer you require at the right time. The answers to your problems will always come when you need them the most. But a word of caution, when you receive your answers, you must take action immediately. Lost ideas may be difficult to recover. Write them down whenever they occur. Number 10, it makes all your words and actions and their effects fit a pattern consistent with your self-concept and your dominant goals. When you've tapped into this life force, you will find yourself saying the right words to the right people at the right time. Number 11, it responds to emotionalized commands, affirmations, whether they are positive or negative. Number 12, it brings into reality any thought, goal, plan, or idea held within your conscious mind. Infinite intelligence is capable of goal-oriented motivation and will release ideas for goal attainment. From slavery to riches. When the subject of black economic development arises, Alonzo Herndon's name is on every tongue. Though he was born a slave in southern Georgia, Alonzo Herndon died a millionaire nearly 3/4 of a century later, perhaps the wealthiest black man of his time. How Herndon obtained his wealth is of great interest. He reached his goal by holding true to an intense belief in his ideas and his abilities. It was no surprise that he valued creative thinking as one of his most prized assets. Herndon spoke discreetly about success. Sometimes it's best, he said, if a man just spends a moment or two thinking. It is one of the toughest things he will ever do, and that's probably why so few bother to do it. Herndon mastered 3 of the most stubborn enemies of mankind and converted them into useful tools. These enemies were ignorance, illiteracy, and poverty. Any man who can stay the hands of these three antagonists, and what is more, harness and use them to good account, is well worth close study. Alonzo Herndon was 7 years old when the Civil War ended. It was his first taste of freedom. He and his brother were raised by their mother in a one-room dirt floor log cabin. He was only a child when he got his first job, working for his grandfather in a lumber yard. From there he moved on to field hand, providing back-breaking labor on the farm of his former owner. For his efforts, he was paid less than $50 a year. To augment his painfully low wages, Herndon started a number of businesses on the side. He sold peanuts, molasses, and novelty items, but mostly he cut hair. His ventures rendered little in terms of monetary rewards, but the idea of working for himself gave him great satisfaction. By the time Herndon had arrived in Atlanta, he had already shaped a career as a barber. Even as a farmhand in rural Georgia, he managed to cut hair in a rented space on Saturdays in the black section of town. Atlanta in the early 1880s was a boom town that seemed ripe for someone like Herndon with a head full of ideas. Herndon made no bones about his desire to be rich, so it was little surprise when he launched the finest barbershop in the world. And the world, let alone Atlanta, had never seen a barbershop as palatial or as opulent. In 1904, he opened a fancy establishment on Peachtree Street, which was described at the Times as the most popular and most successful business of its type. Resplendent with exquisite fixtures and French provincial furnishings, the Emporium, as it was called, was equipped with 23 chairs, marble floors, bronze and crystal chandeliers, and a white steel ceiling. Surrounded by such luxuries, Herndon's elite clientele was pampered by 6-foot-long bathtubs, highly skilled barbers, and bootblacks attending their every whim. It was said that customers felt more important in Herndon's shop than in those of his white competitors. His was the only black enterprise on the city's busiest thoroughfare. With his hair care business secure and earning handsome profits, Herndon was still dissatisfied. Why? He had already won his rags to riches race. He had convincingly acquired enough money to allow his family to live comfortably for their remaining years. What was tugging at his subconscious? Since his childhood days in Walton County, Alonzo Herndon had always wanted to do things in a big way. Even in his later years, he refused to apologize for his copious tastes. America is a capitalist country, and I am a capitalist, he told those close to him. He was a man with a mission, to raise black America from its economic stagnation. But how? Herndon dabbled in real estate and was quite successful. He purchased properties throughout the city and at one time owned an entire block of office buildings in the heart of Atlanta's business district. Before long, he was a millionaire. Nevertheless, he was still looking for ways to expand his empire. And because he searched, it happened. Infinite intelligence had presented him with an enormous opportunity. Almost by accident, Herndon came to the rescue of two local ministers whose enterprise was on the brink of bankruptcy. Georgia law had required that all mutual aid societies, insurance companies, deposit $5,000 with the state officials. Many black businesses, particularly those run by churches, could not foot the bill. Aware of their plight, Herndon purchased the church association for $160 and found himself in the insurance business. With no previous experience in insurance sales, Herndon applied the principles that led to his success in other areas. The Atlanta Benevolent and Protective Association was launched in a one-room office on Auburn Avenue. The firm wrote policies for blacks when it was virtually impossible because of presumed bad risks for them to get insurance. Herndon, however, changed that. He began hiring black college graduates from Atlanta and Harvard universities, utilizing their eagerness and passing on his wisdom and sales savvy. Think of what this means, he told cynics who thought the idea of blacks becoming employers preposterous. Just think, colored men and women offering employment to those of our own race. Under his leadership, the tiny company grew, expanding from one location in 1905 to 84 branch offices and 70,000 policyholders in 1911. He then changed the firm's name to the Atlanta Life Insurance Company and began offering all lines of insurance. Today, Atlanta Life has assets of more than $135 million and is the nation's second largest black-owned insurance company. The dramatic story of big business that you have just read is a perfect illustration of the method by which thinking can be transformed into riches. What was this ex-slave turned millionaire's secret? Simple. Alonzo Herndon achieved his goals by putting his creative genius to work. Despite his lack of formal schooling and the handicaps of doing business in a deeply segregated society, Herndon placed great stock in his ability to dream, to imagine, and to dare. In 1913, Herndon told the faculty and students at Tuskegee Institute, where he served on its board, that wealth and creativity go hand in hand. The black man must possess dreams and visions if he really desires to do anything in a big way. Herndon knew of the power packed into the principle of imagination, and he made others aware of it also. When promising young students from neighboring black colleges came to his attention, he would invite them to his sumptuous mansion, and over dinner would encourage them to talk of visions, possibilities, and dreams. Herndon, like so many creative thinkers, used a notepad and pencil as his favorite working tools. When an idea occurred, he jotted it down. He, like other great men of accomplishment, engaged in thinking, planning, and meditation time. You will never know unless. Notice that the achievers above did not have success handed to them. At first, the world was not particularly kind to Madam Walker or Alonzo Herndon. And yet, refusing to blame life for any shortcomings, each managed to carve out a successful career from the materials that life provided. The world was made better because they dreamed and translated their dreams into reality. Life never leaves you stranded. If life hands you a problem, it also hands you the ability to overcome that problem. Are you ever tempted to blame the world for your failures or shortcomings? If so, I suggest you pause and reconsider. Does the problem lie within the world or within you? Dare to dream. You will never know what your capacity for achievement is until you learn how to mix your efforts with imagination. The products of your hands, minus imagination, will yield you but a small return. But those same hands, when properly guided by imagination, can be made to earn you all the material wealth you can handle. Ideas are the most important things on earth. How many ideas or possibilities can you think of? How many ideas would surface if you would devote a few minutes each day to creative thinking? When you truly discover that success in all areas of life starts simply by employing the creative process that lies within, you can grasp a life of vast wealth. Research has shown that your ability to bring into action this deeper area of the mind will determine your level of success. Napoleon Hill makes another profound observation. He wrote, "From the time of Socrates, the founder of ethical science, to the inventive Edison, Ford, and George Washington Carver, this little understood area of mental activity has delivered the insight and the know-how for almost every great achievement that makes possible and sustains modern civilization as we know it. It was through a dream. It was through a dream that George Smith, though cursed with poverty and illiteracy, built a successful oil business. Smith was born on the eve of the Great Depression in Livingston, Texas. His father died when he was barely a year old. leaving a wife and a handful of small children to fend for themselves. Though an excellent student, Smith was forced to quit school after the third grade to help support his family. He cleaned yards, washed dishes, and chopped cotton, all in an effort to feed his brothers and sisters. Smith left home for good at 13 to work in the Texas oil fields. Having learned just about everything there was to know about oil pipes, he perfected a way to reduce the amount of stress exerted on pipe joints. With hardly any savings, he started a company, Smith Pipe and Supply, that would earn more than $30 million in 1980. It was through a vision that Samuel L. Gravely, the son of a Pullman porter, climbed from an enlisted man in the Naval Reserve to his first black admiral. In 1942, Gravely was despondent when he was relegated to clean the pool halls in the officers' lounge. But for the next 25 years, armed with determination and a dream of commanding his own ship, Gravely began his long trek through the ranks. And it was through a vision that Susan Taylor became a precedent breaker, a proud black woman who refused to be denied her true place. Hard work and discipline have not frightened her one iota. She recognized early on what it took to accomplish the goals she would set for herself. Listen as she recalls her life-changing experience. One day, as I walked into a New York candy store, I saw a magazine that changed the course of my life. As I glanced at the newsstand, familiar faces of white fashion models and movie stars smiled from the magazine covers on the rack. But when I reached for my favorite magazine, I was pleasantly surprised to find Essence, a magazine specifically aimed at the black woman. The date of that first issue was May 1970, and the face on that cover was young and black, like mine. Essence had filled an obvious void. I bought a copy and read it from cover to cover before I even left the store. In subsequent weeks, Taylor became imbued with the idea that she was going to be a part of this new publication. But how? I wasn't concerned about how, she said. The only thing that mattered was my decision to chase my dream and reach my goal. In 1981, 11 years later, with no contacts, minimal schooling, and no knowledge of the publishing industry, Taylor won out. She became editor-in-chief of the magazine she had vowed to become a part of. She offers the following advice to readers in her monthly forum, In the Spirit. Black man, black woman, remember, you have dominion. Each moment your thoughts, your words, and actions either lean toward frustration or build new hopes and visions. Lift up your consciousness. Go on. Dream big dreams. Develop a plan for your future. And why not? You built the pyramids, didn't you? You too can convert your creative thinking and imagination into success, wealth, and happiness. You live in a strange and fast-paced world. Each day your world is being altered by men and women who have learned how to unlock their inborn creativity. Will you dare to dream? If your answer is yes, let the following steps be your guide. Unlocking your inborn creativity. Nothing is impossible for the man or woman with creative vision. He or she is the forerunner of civilization, the inspirer of individual achievement, the builder of empires. In today's society, there is a place for every person who can render a useful service. The man or woman with creative vision will recognize these facts and profit by them. Those without creative vision will overlook them and complain of a lack of opportunity. Wherever you find prosperity and leadership, you will find the individual who has mastered the following qualities. Number 1, relaxation. A relaxed body is a powerful body. A relaxed mind, likewise, is a powerful mind. If you are to be creative and receptive to new and bold ideas, then you must take time for these ideas to present themselves. Plan daily relaxation time. Choose a favorite room or chair that will help you set your mind at ease. As you learn to relax, you will receive special instructions, ideas that are handed to you through infinite intelligence, that will clear the path to your goals and objectives. Number 2, visualization. A composer thinks about music. An artist thinks about colors. A writer thinks about stories and words. If you will take one idea and visualize and emotionalize it, you will be astounded by the results. Number 3, affirmation. Strong authoritative commands stated repeatedly will build a new positive habit pattern of thought. Number 4, take advantage of ideas as they come. Intuitive thoughts are fleeting, ephemeral, and transient. These thoughts run contrary to your habitual reasoning. Brief flashes of inspiration can occur without warning. Be prepared to record your ideas. Even during non-relaxing moments, a creative person, one who has learned to listen with his inner ear, makes a point of always having a pad and pencil nearby. Many good ideas have been lost because of the inability to transfer them to paper. Number 5, evaluate your ideas. Once you have finished brainstorming, become selective. Decide which ideas are sound and implementable. You will realize that each idea breeds additional ideas. A few moments of introspection will foster enough possibilities to last a lifetime. When you learn the secret of unlocking your inborn creativity, your mind will begin to function in a natural, spontaneous manner. It will rid itself of any inhibitions, and effectiveness and energy will greatly increase. There are huge rewards to be gained by mastering the creative thought process. Don't limit your imagination. So many of the stories you have read and will read in this book demonstrate the power of ideas. Time after time, as I have studied the careers of successful men and women, I have discovered that each dates his or her own success from the day he began to open his imagination, never underestimating its power. A single idea or an unlimited imagination can launch you onto a bold new program while providing a light on a once darkened path. As the physician, chemical engineer, and mission specialist of the 1991 shuttle Discovery flight, Mae Jemison has never been guided by the thoughts of others. One look at the background of America's first black woman astronaut illustrates the importance of her creative vision. As a small child, Mae Jemison wanted it all. She dreamed of a career in medicine and engineering. Reared in a loving family that stressed, "Why not?" instead of "Why?" she gazed at the evening sky and envisioned life among the stars. With an unlimited imagination, she shared her dreams with all those who would listen. "But a doctor and an astronaut?" her parents questioned. "Why not?" she innocently responded. Even a supportive family knew the limits of her possibilities would be tested. Over the years, the young girl's goals crystallized. She refused to be deterred by the obvious roadblocks: lack of money, few eye-catching references, and stiff competition from the country's most distinguished scholars. Mae chose to walk toward her dominant impulse. After graduating from high school, Mae attended Stanford University, even after being warned of its highly competitive reputation. She felt this was just the scholarly environment she needed to pursue a degree in chemical engineering. As an underclassman, she ignored the insinuation that scientists and engineers were introverted and bookish. To ensure that she would not be isolated from campus life, she would experience as many activities as possible. Though still an undergraduate, Mae taught classes on African culture and education to incoming freshmen and received a National Achievement Scholarship in the process. An accomplished dancer, she produced, directed, and choreographed dance and theater ensembles in her spare time. In addition to the rigors that a major in engineering demands, she also earned a degree in Afro-American Studies. In 1977, Mae graduated from Stanford and immediately applied to medical school. Cornell University made its pitch and she was sold. Her undergraduate training would serve her well as she settled into bioengineering program, one of the nation's best. At Cornell, Mae would continue her breakneck pace, squeezing in a number of related activities into an already overloaded schedule. Here she gained national exposure by presiding over the medical school's student council and was drawn to even more opportunities. An American Medical Student Association internship took her to Cuba. Another fellowship sent her to rural Kenya, and from there she went to Thailand to work and study in a Cambodian refugee camp. All the while, she became infatuated with the healthcare systems of third world nations. Mae finished medical school with impressive credentials. Hoping to continue her training among less developed countries, she enlisted in the Peace Corps. Her initial assignments took her to Sierra Leone and Liberia, where she was responsible for developing healthcare programs for Peace Corps volunteers. At 26, she was the youngest physician, not to mention black and female, to hold that post. When her tour was up, she flew back to the States. Little did she know that the chance of a lifetime awaited her. By 1990, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, began soliciting candidates for its shuttle program. When she learned of the openings, Mae was floored. Almost instinctively, she assembled the necessary documents and applied. Dreams do come true, she thought, as the selection process commenced. And then she waited and waited. Nearly 20 years from the moment she dared to gaze into the sky and let her imagination roam free, she was about to make history, and she hit her mark. After being selected from a pool of more than 2,000 applicants, Dr. Mae Jemison was bound for outer space. Can you imagine the odds? What was her greatest asset? In her own words, she gives a clue. People cannot let others limit their imagination or what it is they want to do or can do. Otherwise, we would never have discoveries or advance. This is a brilliant example of creative imagination at its best. Many people who want to succeed have tasted failure. Unfortunately, their reasons for failing often point to something other than themselves. I'm black. I was raised in the projects. My father left home. I'm a dropout. I never had a chance. My parents used drugs. What these individuals are really saying, in essence, is, I lack creative vision. They are blaming the world for their shortcomings, when, in actuality, their only real barrier rests with their inability to dream and envision success. How often have we heard that blacks lack the discipline and wherewithal to pursue careers in the natural science? How many more young minds will fall prey to the fallacy that black students lack the capacity to score well on standardized tests or even to attend college? There is an important lesson to be learned in Mae's story. It is only when we actually begin to dream, not as things are, but as they could be, that we free ourselves of all self-imposed limits. When we recognize the vast talents that lie within us, we will then understand that we have the power to reach any goal. Enhance your creativity through visualization. Long before ex-heavyweight boxing champion George Foreman reached his goal, and admirers sought the champ's key to success. Though Foreman's words were uttered in a spirit of jest, his words of inspiration found fertile soil in the young man's mind. If I see what I want real good in my mind, explained the champ, I don't notice any pain in getting it. There is no objective too important or too trivial for your mind to visualize. Much like boxing champion George Foreman, we soon realize that we can't achieve greatness in our outer world without first picturing it in our inner worlds, our minds. The simplest of actions take on a new significance. We cannot reach for a pen, sit in a chair, or answer the telephone without first, at least subconsciously, having a mental picture of such acts. You can be anything you want to be if you will only trust your imagination. Visualize your heart's desire. Never allow the picture to distort or tarnish. Keep it fresh, clear, and bright. Success will enter your life quietly and unobtrusively, without raucousness or fanfare, for it will follow the law that permeates the universe. Everything begins in the mind. When you understand the relationship between imagination and visualization and the subconscious mind, you can see that the first step in the achievement of any purposeful goal is to create a picture of that which is desired. This picture is then placed in the subconscious mind and held there until the subconscious picks it up and translates it into its ultimate desired form. I saw myself a recording star. You can't play the piano, and God knows you can't sing. You better learn how to weave chairs so you can support yourself. The words were tough advice from a teacher to her student. They were especially cruel to a youngster who liked to play the piano and sing. To a black child in the South, it should have been crushing. There was so little else for him to hope for. When he was 6 years old, Ray Charles Robinson became totally blind. Doctors diagnosed his condition as increased intraocular tension resulting from ocular disease, glaucoma. Ray's mother helplessly looked at the physicians, not wanting to believe. Isn't there anything you can do? Wouldn't an operation help? No, was the answer. As of now, we know of no way to treat his condition. Ray's eyesight did not go right away. It was more of a gradual closing in, as he puts it. One day he could see a mountain miles away. A month later, that same mountain was only a fuzzy, hazy object in the distance. He went to his mother, rubbing his eyes as she tried to find any doctor. But it was 1936, and in the South there were few black specialists. Though blind since 6, he was not made to feel helpless. His mother would have no part in any self-pity. She told him, "You're blind, not stupid. You've lost your sight, not your mind." Ray has never forgotten her words. Ray Charles couldn't see, but the love and faith of his parents made his life rich and rewarding. His mother refused to allow her son to succumb to his handicap. She emphasized that he could learn to lead a productive and fulfilling life despite his blindness. Through the encouragement of his mother, Ray Charles knew he had lost only his sight, not his power of visualization. Ray was born normal and healthy in Albany, Georgia. His father was a repairman and his mother worked as a domestic. Not far from the little frame house where Ray and his family resided, there lived a boogie-woogie pianist named Wiley Pittman. Mr. Pitt, Ray called him. Whenever Mr. Pitt would begin to play, Ray recalls, I would stop what I was doing and run next door. I'd stand by the piano and pound on it with both hands. Wiley Pittman, the man Ray credits for his success, willingly accepted the youngster's presence and taught him how to play. Mr. Pittman would listen to the loud, raucous noise, refusing to discourage his pupil. He would simply smile and say, "That's good, that's real good, sonny, but you've got to practice." For nearly 10 years, Ray practiced every chance he got, but by then he was totally blind and in need of special care. Frightened, barefoot, and orphaned, Ray was sent to the St. Augustine School for Deaf and Blind Children in Orlando, Florida. Life at St. Augustine's was inhibiting for the creative young boy. He sheltered himself from academic instruction and hid out in the school's music room. His only hope was to hang on to his mother's words, "You have lost your sight, not your mind." Ray's talent for music began to flourish. At 15, he quit school altogether to perform in small bands throughout the South. Far from an overnight success, he found the going tough. Nevertheless, his first job providing background music at a local radio station paid $5 an hour. From there, he joined another band, one of many, and lied about his age in order to obtain a union card. To keep abreast of new musical trends, He concentrated on the chords and melodies used by other piano players at the Union Hall. Later, he transcribed every note into Braille. It wasn't an easy process. Many times during auditions, I was told that I couldn't carry a note with a bucket, and that I sure couldn't play the piano. As I look back over this period, I now realize that it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was during these tough times that I developed a power that was to ultimately place me over the top, the power of visualization. Regardless of how bad things got on the outside, I kept a clear picture in my head of what I wanted to transpire. Through visualization, I saw myself as a recording star. With his career on hold, Ray needed a break. He asked a friend and fellow band member, "What's the furthest point from Georgia?" Somewhat bewildered, his buddy replied, "I guess Washington." "Then Washington it is," Ray exclaimed. Based on faith and persistence, Ray borrowed $600 and boarded a bus for Seattle. He was 17 years old. With a fresh start, he hired 7 musicians and formed the Ray Charles Group. Ray played the sax and piano and doubled on vocals. The group became known as one of the best small jazz ensembles in the country. 1 year later, Ray hit the big time. His record, "I Got a Woman," helped him to do what few musicians are able to do: create music that appeals to young and old, black and white, rich and poor. Because of his ability to successfully cross major boundaries, other musicians ungrudgingly use words like genius to describe him. Ray went on to record bestsellers like "Born to Lose," "Hallelujah, I Love Her So," and "Georgia on My Mind," the official song of the state that he left. Today, each record Ray Charles releases sells an average of 500,000 copies. Though sightless, he still pictures his riches, appearing before prestigious audiences and sell out concert halls the world over. The substance of things hoped for. The substance of things hoped for is a real substance, formed from pictures in the mind, as concrete and detailed as in the world itself. The evidence of things unseen, as with Ray Charles, is knowledge gleaned through the image-making power of imagination. It is impossible for us to act against our knowledge. For example, a man will not step in front of a speeding automobile for fear of injury. He will not swim in an ocean if he knows he will drown. And he will not venture forward if he believes he will fail. Success does not require a great amount of knowledge about anything, but it does call for the persistent use of whatever knowledge you may have. No amount of persuasion can change a man's reaction to what he knows, but what he knows can be changed, and the most direct manner is to alter the images within his mind. If a man learns to clearly visualize his objective, this mental picture will ultimately become a reality in his life. There are no limitations to the power of visualization, save those that the individual creates for himself or permits to be established by the influences outside of himself. Ray Charles visualized success regardless of countless setbacks and rejections. "I saw myself a recording star" was not a baseless boast, but a preview of things to come. The visual pictures that we possess lead us around by our mental noses. This range of mental motion works just as quickly for what is considered evil as it does for what is considered good. For instance, if a person were to constantly visualize robbing the corner service station, almost automatically that individual will certainly find himself at that station, gun in hand, prepared to empty the till. People who commit so-called crimes of passion often report that they were in the grip of a compulsion which they could neither control nor understand. Such compulsion proceeds out of our mental pictures. Images projected onto the movie screen of the mind take root in the motor impulses of the body, and each person is propelled into action by that which he or she has visualized. a future Hall of Famer. Walter Payton, future Football Hall of Famer, was once asked, "How did you manage to gain more than 15,000 yards in your career and surpass nearly every seemingly impossible rushing mark in the process?" To this he crisply replies, "When I started out, I knew where I wanted to go and what I had to do to get there. I painted a vivid picture in my mind of all the goals I wanted to accomplish and simply set about the task of achieving them, one by one." Payton went on to say that he even heard the cheering crowd in great detail in his mind. He also pictured award ceremonies complete with sports writers and guests, and the style and brilliance of Super Bowl championship ring that he would wear so proudly, years before it ever occurred. The quality of your visualization in your inner world will determine how quickly you will manifest results in your outer world. Since most people are relatively unaware of the power of visualization, they give little consideration to what they actually envision. There are millions who believe they are doomed to poverty and failure because some strange force over which they assume they have no control. Unknowingly, many create their own misfortune because of negative thought patterns, which are picked up by the subconscious and translated into its physical equivalent. Like the man or woman who has fervently visualized wealth and success and has attained it, so too has a portion of Black America approached the table of life famished because their minds held pictures of poverty, lack, and failure. By now you realize that thoughts are things that, when properly nourished and internalized, will become a reality in the world of form. If you envision yourself acquiring abundance, and if you keep this picture in your mind regardless of the obstacles you encounter, then it must become manifest in your life. If you allow this picture to be the dominant image in your mental world, you will think successful thoughts and surround yourself with successful people who encourage your visions. You will save a part of your income and thereby pay yourself first, a crucial step in acquisition of wealth. You will engage in a program of personal improvement and select your life's mission. You will seek the knowledge and expertise of those who have achieved success, and you will then succeed in spite of the difficulties. Your entire life experience will revolve around an image of success based on your mental picture. The reverse of this affirmation is equally true. If you picture yourself poor, you will act out your poverty based on that image. You will surround yourself with other like-minded people who lack the fundamental necessities and the wherewithal to succeed. You will relive past failures and speak of them as virtue. Yours will be a life haunted by missed opportunities and what-ifs. Follow these rules. If your world is one of limitation and misery because you have not realized that you have within your power the ability to change your life, here is a concise set of rules for the process of visualization. Number 1, think constantly, quietly, and persistently of that which you desire. Your thinking should have two qualities: clearness and interest. Number 2, relax. Do not strain to obtain your ideas. Tension is inadvertently the cause of failure. Number 3, see yourself already in possession of that which you desire. Visualize and emotionalize your major purpose. Imagine success. The pattern of your thinking today is transforming your tomorrows. Once you comprehend this principle, you will think twice before indulging in any bouts of self-pity. You will actually stand in awe of the law of life. You move in the direction of your dominant thought. Drill into your being clear, concise, vivid mental pictures of that which you desire most. Let your imagination be a means of looking up, not down. Cast your sights toward the infinite possibilities ever present in your environment, for you are one with infinite intelligence. Through the power of creative imagination, there is no goal too great nor dream too high. Remember, what the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. It was Thoreau who wrote, "If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life he has imagined, he will meet success unexpected in common hours." "Great idea," said Albert Camus, the 20th century novelist and philosopher, "come into the world as gently as doves." Perhaps then, if we listen attentively, we shall hear, amid the uproar of empires and nations, a faint flutter of wings, the gentle stirrings of life and hope. "A man may not achieve everything he has dreamed," wrote William James, "but he will never achieve anything great without having dreamed it first." Do not hesitate to dream. Build your dreams, nurture your dreams, lean on your dreams in times of difficulty. But once having dreamed, believe in your dreams. Visualize them as having already been fulfilled. Be idea-centered. In the proper sequence of the creative process, every need or desire is first an idea before it is an object. The order of life is inner before outer. What is needed is the right idea. Only then can you experience a natural fulfillment of the evolution of things. Stay with the basic idea. Develop the idea. Produce and project the idea. Then watch its outward manifestation in your life. The images we hold steadfastly in our minds over the years are not illusions. They are patterns by which we are able to mold our destinies. All wishful thinkers boast of their grand plans, their huge schemes, and surefire bets that will produce their fortunes. But they are only plans, no real programs, no purpose. Ideas must be fostered, developed, and then put into action. By themselves, ideas have no intrinsic value. They are a dime a dozen. They must be accompanied by action. Remember the old adage, the successful implementation of one good idea is worth more than 1,000 good ideas not acted upon. In this respect, an idea becomes the first step in the success chain. It takes a creative consciousness along with relentless action to breathe life into your dreams. This is the foundation of the grand plan governing the universe. Ideas are created by infinite intelligence and manifested through you.